How to set your rates as a freelance bookkeeper. So many people ask me questions. How do I quote my services? How much should I charge my clients? I have no idea, this and that. And I struggled with this in the beginning. I've been running my own bookkeeping business for the past 4 years. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've learned a lot of lessons. I make these videos so that I can teach you the stuff that I already learned so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that I made so that you can fast track to success. That's the whole point. Like I said, I've been running my business for 4 years. I absolutely love bookkeeping. I love talking about it. It gets me fired up. And I also really like teaching people. I've kind of realized that over the past 3 years. I don't really know why I'm making these YouTube videos other than the fact I just genuinely get fired up talking about this stuff. I'm so busy right now. I have 78 bookkeeping clients. I'm swamped. The tax deadline is October 15th. So I think I'm getting a couple big cleanup projects because people are trying to file their 2023 taxes and the deadline is coming up. I'm swamped right now. Honestly, I was not going to make a video this week. However, I got a comment on one of my videos literally 7 hours ago at 4:30 this morning, and it inspired me so much that I said, you know what? I got to show up today. I have to make a video because of what this one person said. It blew me away. I couldn't believe this person said this. Honestly, really what like touched my heart, I guess you could say. I'm not a super emotional person, but this got me a little bit emotional. This person said, they commented on one of my videos and they said, "You are a blessing. I have been depressed for 30 years trying to figure out how to be my own boss and work at home. You saved my life." Now, whether or not I actually saved their life, that's not the point. The point is that my videos are actually making an impact on people's lives. And that to me is priceless. Like, that is so special. If I can create a video that can help just one person change their life, save their life, turn their life around, then it's at this point, it is my responsibility to continue making these videos, continue talking about this stuff because I love doing it. And it seems like it's helping a lot of people. So here I am. Let's talk about it. How to set your rates as a freelance bookkeeper. Side note, I have a ton of links in the description of this video, blah, blah, blah. Check them out if you want. Okay. Point number one, understand your value. You're an expert. There's a sweet spot between an office manager and a CPA. The office manager is great at office administrative tasks. They're probably managing the calendar, opening mail, running to the bank, maybe even answering phone calls, maybe organizing staff parties. The office manager is great at a ton of tasks, but they're not bookkeeping experts. So they might just be thrown into the role of bookkeeper without having the skills necessary to be a good bookkeeper, and most of the time not having enough time to do bookkeeping. We're the sweet spot between the office manager and the tax accountant or the CPA. The CPA, great at taxes, tax expert through and through, really busy during tax season, but not a great bookkeeper because they do taxes. They don't really want to be doing daily entries and monthly reconciliations and creating invoices and paying bills. That's not their job. That's not their role. Tax accountants and CPAs don't want to do bookkeeping. So we are that perfect in between. We're more specialized than an office manager, and we have more availability than a CPA. So we are that sweet spot. We are the perfect person to do bookkeeping. We specialize in bookkeeping. We don't do all the other administrative tasks of an office manager. We don't file taxes. We just do bookkeeping. So having a specialty really matters. We know how to do bookkeeping. That business owner will probably have to teach their office manager how to do bookkeeping, but they don't need to teach us. We already know how to do bookkeeping. We already know how to do QuickBooks. All of this ties into understanding your value. I need to say this first so that you understand how much to charge and why we charge it, because you are valuable as a bookkeeper. You are not just an office manager, and you can do things that a CPA and a tax accountant cannot do. Not because they don't know how to do it, but mostly because they don't have time to do it or they're not interested in doing it. So the business owner does not have to teach us. And that is super valuable because the business owner doesn't have time. They don't have time to sit down with us for 5 hours and teach us how to do bookkeeping. We already know how to do it. They're going to teach their office manager, and they don't have to do that for us. And we're not going to ask them questions. The office manager is going to ask a ton of questions like, what do I do with this? Where do I put that? How should I handle this? We don't ask them questions on how to do stuff, but instead it's the other way around. They can actually ask us bookkeeping questions. That's where that expertise comes in. And then finally, most of us are a QuickBooks Online certified pro advisor. So you might not have any experience, or maybe you don't even have a college degree, but you can still pitch to your prospective clients that I am a bookkeeping expert and a QuickBooks expert because I am a QuickBooks Online certified pro advisor. So they are paying for that certification. They're paying for that knowledge. And you could actually show up in the database of QuickBooks Online as a pro advisor. So if they ever want to check your credentials, they're right there. Point number 2, you need to research the market rates. Everyone's going to charge differently depending on where you live. So look into industry standards. There's a business owner, there's an independent contractor, and there's an employee. All 3 people could be considered a bookkeeper, but there's industry standards for different roles, different types of positions. So the employee probably going to be paid $15 an hour to maybe $25 or $30 an hour. The independent contractor is more similar to the employee in the sense that whenever I say independent contractor, you might be an independent contractor for like 1 or 2 clients. So maybe you're working 15 or 20 hours a week as an independent contractor. And so you might make a little bit more than the employee, but not as much as the business owner because you're not going out and trying to find more clients. You just kind of like almost have a part-time job, 15 to 20 hours a week. Maybe you have 2 or 3 clients. And so the independent contractor might be getting $20 to $35 or $40 an hour. You're not an employee, but you're not quite a business owner. You're kind of in the middle. And then we have a business owner, an entrepreneur. So you're going to charge at least $50 an hour, depending on your location. But you cannot look up average bookkeeper salary and see, average bookkeeper salary is $22 an hour. I'll charge $25 an hour. It doesn't work like that because there's so many things that go into running a business. You can't just charge what an employee or an independent contractor might make. And I'll get into more details onto why you can't just charge that later on in the video. There's places like Upwork and Fiverr. Let me just say, a lot of this depends on your location. I've seen Upwork and Fiverr can be a dangerous place because a lot of people, it's a race to the bottom. That's just what I've seen. I've actually never landed a client on Upwork and Fiverr, so maybe my experience isn't the best, but if you've had different experience, maybe let me know in the comments if you've had a great experience on Upwork and Fiverr. But from what I've seen, you might get a ton of sales consultations, but it's hard to land a client because people on Upwork are usually just looking for the cheapest option, and location matters. If you're competing with a bookkeeper who's in a different country, their cost of living might be much lower than yours. Or maybe the other way around. Maybe their cost of living is much higher than yours. And so I can't compete with a bookkeeper who has a cost of living like an average wage of like $8 an hour. Obviously here in America, our cost of living is much more expensive than other countries. So if I'm trying to compete with other bookkeepers in different countries, specifically on Upwork and Fiverr, it's going to be impossible. It's going to be a race to the bottom, and there's just no way it's going to work. So you got to factor in location across different countries globally, but then also in the United States. Like if you live in, Texas or Minnesota, it might be cheaper than if you live in New York City or Los Angeles or Chicago. So if you're in New York City, you're probably going to charge a lot more than somebody who is in Georgia, just because the cost of living, once again, New York City, much more expensive, Georgia, a little bit cheaper. Location matters a lot. There's not just a standard national rate for bookkeeping services. Now, this is an interesting idea. What is your ideal income? I feel like this doesn't really get talked about a lot whenever we are considering how much should you charge or how many clients should you try to get. You all know how much money I make blah, blah, blah. I have 78 clients. I make like 35,000 bucks a month just from bookkeeping and like an extra 10 or 15,000 from other stuff. But what's your ideal income? What are your financial goals? You can work backwards. After you figure out your ideal salary, you can work backwards and figure out how many clients you want or how many hours you need. So let's say, for example, you want to make $60,000 per year. That's $5,000 per month. Now, let's say an average client pays $400 per month. Then you know, okay, I need 12 to 13 clients per month to make $60,000 per year. And then you can come up with a plan. How am I going to get 12 clients? How am I going to get 13 clients? And once you do get 13 clients, do you want to continue to grow? Do I want to make more than 60,000 or am I going to say no? And then how are you going to manage the workload of 12 to 13 clients? So once you figure out your financial goals, then you can kind of figure out how many clients do I want, or how many hours do I want to work, or how much I'm going to charge per hour. Just keep in mind, there is a big difference between billable hours and administrative hours. So just because employees can work 40 hours a week doesn't necessarily mean that us as business owners can work 40 billable hours per week, because there's so much more that goes into running a business. Especially if you're working in person, then you're going to have to factor in the commute time to maybe you're going to different offices. And then as a business owner, you have advertising, marketing, sales calls, your own administrative tasks. You have to do your billing. You have to send invoices to your customers. You have to pay your bills. There's a lot that goes into managing your administrative hours versus your billable hours. So just because you think, oh, I got to make $5,000 per month and there's, I don't know, 40, 80, 160 hours per week, divide 5,000 by 160 hours per week. And like, that's my hourly rate. It doesn't really work like that, because you might not be able to work 40 billable hours every week just because there's so much admin work that goes into it. Okay, a couple more points here. Let's talk about your business cost. So all of like how much you charge, a lot of that depends on how many expenses you have. The cool thing about having a bookkeeping business, it's super cheap. Literally all you need is an internet connection and a laptop. And if you don't have that, you can go to your library and you can probably access a computer and the internet for free at your local library. If you just have a laptop and you need internet, you could probably go to your local cafe and access internet. But internet's like $50 a month. A decent laptop is like $400 a month. Definitely recommend invest in a decent laptop and an internet connection in your house, but you don't need anything other than that. You don't need an office. You don't need inventory or equipment or employees or supplies. You don't really need anything to run a bookkeeping business. All you need is a computer. But you might have some expenses. You might have some advertising cost. You might have an office. Maybe you have some employees. Maybe you have insurance, software. It all depends on you and your business. So how many employees you have or how many expenses you have, you got to factor that in to your financial goals. So if you want to make $60,000 a year, but you have $5,000 a year of expenses, just make sure you account for that. Other thing, taxes. Don't forget, you got to pay your taxes. So as an independent contractor, freelancer, business owner, entrepreneur, you're going to be paid $1,000 a month. And the IRS, it's not like a paycheck where your employer will take out your taxes for you. So it's not like that. So you have to file your own taxes, and you also have self-employment taxes. So make sure you figure all of that into your financial goals and how much money you want to make. You might need to make some adjustments depending on how much cash you need to pay your bills and survive and invest in your future and save for the future. You got to account for taxes, quarterly taxes, self-employment taxes. Make sure you don't get caught at the end of the year with a big tax bill that you didn't plan for. Okay, let's talk about pricing model. Let's actually get to it. Like, how much should you charge as a freelance bookkeeper? You got three options. Hourly, which I kind of already touched on. At least $50 an hour. If like $100 an hour is probably a good goal. Maybe you start at 50. I started at 50. Actually, I started at 25 for my very first client, but start at 50, slowly work your way up, maybe 65, then 80, then 90, get to 100. 100 seems to be reasonable. Like most people don't complain about 100. That's good. Anything more than 100, depending on where you live, that can be kind of a lot. But I don't charge hourly. I don't do that. I charge a flat fee, and it's so simple. I keep it so simple. This works for cleanup projects. This works for monthly bookkeeping. This works for future bookkeeping. So simple. $3 per transaction. That's it. $3 per transaction. And no, I'm not changing every month depending on transaction volume. I simply look at the 3 most recent months and I add them up, and that's the quote. So if you have 100 transactions in August, 100 transactions in July, and 100 transactions in June, that's 300 transactions for the past 3 months. So your bookkeeping bill is going to be $300 per month. So what I do, I skip a step. I take the 3 months, divide it by 3, get the average number of monthly transactions, and then multiply it by 3. So if you wanted to multiply it by 2.5, then take 100 times 2.5 and charge $250 per month. I started charging $2 per transaction like for the first year in the beginning, and then everybody was saying yes, and I thought, what if I charge 3? And everybody still says yes. So $3 per transaction seems to be a pretty good spot. I have a $250 minimum. So even if you have 15 transactions per month, I'm still going to charge $250 per month, no matter what. That's my minimum. And then for cleanup projects, so simple. Just 2023 cleanup, guess what? Add up all the transactions in 2023, multiply it by 3. That's it. Like literally, that's it. Multiply it by 3. And this applies to credit cards, checking accounts, savings accounts, loan accounts, lines of credit, money coming in, money going out, even transfers. Like if you transfer from your checking account to your savings account, that's 2 transactions. That's $6. 2 times 3. $3 per transaction. That's it. Now, if you want class tracking, project tracking, if you're a home remodeling company or a real estate investor and you have class tracking or project tracking, or you're a restaurant and you have location tracking, that's $4 per transaction. Keep it simple, guys. You want to keep it simple. You want to have a simple, fast, and efficient quoting process so that you can quote people quickly, so that you can land clients quickly, so that you can get more clients. If it takes you 2 weeks to quote a project, forget about it. It takes too long. You got to be quick. Develop a system, develop a process, count the transactions, hack, cheat code. Let me fill you in on a secret. If you get access to their QuickBooks, you can look to see how much they were paying their previous bookkeeper. Hello, information, like that's free information. That's a cheat code for quoting somebody. Find out how much they were paying before. And then the third option is a retainer. It's kind of like in between an hourly fee and a flat fee. It's like really an hourly fee, but you get paid up front. So for the hourly fee, for the retainer, like I'll do this sometimes if it's a miscellaneous project. And the key here is that I'll charge 4 hours, $400. You got to pay me up front and then I'll work. But the thing is, if I get the project done in less than 4 hours, I'm still keeping the $400. I'm not going to pay you back. I'm not going to I'll keep track of my hours, but usually almost always, like if I tell you like it's probably going to take, so here's the thing. I'll tell you it's probably going to take at least 4 hours. And so I'll charge you $400, 4 hours, and then I'll try to solve the problem. And if I can't get it done, I'll let you know, hey, I got halfway done. It's going to be another 4 hours. Or I'll tell you, hey, I got it done. Or I'll tell you like, hey, this is a way bigger problem than I thought. It's actually going to be 10 hours or 20 hours. So this just saves you from promising to get a project done and then it just becoming like way bigger of a problem that you like can't solve. A lot of times you'll be able to fix the problem in less than 4 hours and then you make out, and the business owner is also happy because you solved their problems. This happens almost all the time with like a 2023 reconciliation. If they're like, hey, I got a couple transactions that are missing this and that, like, can you just like clean up 2023 and just reconcile my accounts? I'll say, sure. Like it's probably going to take 8 hours. And then I charge them $800. They pay me up front and then I work for 8 hours. And then what does happen sometimes is like, whoa, like there's 4 months that are missing transactions. So you just saved yourself, instead of saying like, yeah, I'll do the whole thing for $800, you just saved yourself from potentially doing like a whole year of reconciliations and 4 months of total bookkeeping for $800. But instead, what you can do is you can work for 8 hours and you can be like, whoa, I just found this massive hole in your bookkeeping. And then you can count the transactions, multiply it by 3. You can say, hey, it's going to be, I found 400 transactions that are missing. So it's going to be an extra $1,200 because I have to do all 4 months right here of bookkeeping. So do the retainer for like miscellaneous projects. That way you get paid up front. You're not worried about tracking people down and tracking down your money. And that way you can kind of do that system where you diagnose the problem, get paid $400, try to fix it. But if you can't, you can charge more to fix the problem. So hourly, flat fee, and retainer. That's it. And then adjust your rates over time. So try to do like a 5% increase every year. You're going to know. There's going to be some clients who are a huge pain in the butt. Every time you log into the QuickBooks, it stresses you out. I can't do this. I got to charge them more. Maybe increase their prices by 10%. Some clients you might need to increase their prices. Some clients you don't, but I recommend try to do like at least a 3 to 5% increase every year. That way they're just used to it. Like if you never do it and then you wait 5 years and then you try to increase prices, they're going to be like, whoa, what are you talking about? But you can also map it to inflation or like cost of living adjustments. Like companies increase their prices literally all the time, every single year. So these business owners should be used to it. You can even like say like, hey, like inflation went up 4% last year, so we're increasing our bookkeeping services by 4%. Inflation went up by 8% last year, so we're going to increase our bookkeeping services by 8% this year. Inflation only went up 2%. Hey guys, like good news, we're only raising our prices by 2%, but just do it every year. That way they're used to it and it'll really compound on itself. If you keep a client for 10 years, it'll really start to add up. Just do a little bit, just do 3 to 5% every year. And some clients, like I said, some clients are going to need it. Some clients aren't. I don't lock my clients into a long-term contract month to month. So if I want to increase the prices anytime I can, if they want to cancel anytime they can. I hate getting locked into long-term contracts, so I don't do that for them. Check out my website, harrisburgbookkeeping.com/store. I do have my client agreement that you guys can download on my website, and it like maps out like payment terms and accounting services and what to do for this and that. It's great. I use it for all my clients. Definitely recommend it. That's it, guys. Hopefully this was kind of helpful. I couldn't believe this person. You saved my life. That's what they said in one of my YouTube comments. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm making these videos. I love talking about it. I love helping you. I'll see you all in the next video.